Auston Matthews continues to be slandered by mainstream hockey outlets. Where do we have him ranked among the NHL's best? You're listening to the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Locked On Leafs podcast, a daily Maple Leaf-centric podcast hosted by myself, Mike DiStefano, and my co-host, Dave Morassutti. What's happening, brother? How are we feeling on a Tuesday?
Feeling good, man. You know, just waiting for a couple more days till we get another Leafs game. It's weird.
Yeah. Long layoff. It's because they got to go on that annual Muskoka trip. They're all off to Muskoka. Like, we can't schedule a game for like 4 or 5 days. Boys got to go up to Muskoka and get some bonding in, you know?
So it's always an interesting trip. You hear about this Muskoka trip. I'm like, it's like Muskoka Woods. Like when I was in high school, you know, I did you do Muskoka Woods when you were in high school? Where you do the retreat? It's like one of those like camps. And they got like
I remember we did like a Camp Wahanawin in grade 7 or 8 or whatever it was, I think. Yeah, we never.
Well, you also grew up in Niagara, so I think going up to Muskoka would have been a bit of a trek for you guys.
Yeah, I think Wahanawin was like a few hours away too, but yeah, that wasn't part of the curriculum in the old DSBN where I grew up. But I've been up to Muskoka a few times. Got some buddies who've got some places up there, and I've been lucky enough to be invited. It's a beautiful spot. We know there's a lot of Maple Leafs, both past and present, who have some places up there. Usually a lot of hockey players summer up in the Muskoka area. The Maple Leafs make this trip every year, you know, and they always come back with some good stories. And usually there's like a young guy up there who comes back with a pretty good story of, you know, something. And I'll be curious to see, you know, if maybe like Ben Danford will have a story or Easton Cowan will have a story of some kind. I know they did send a whole bunch of their AHLers down to the Marlies as their training camps getting ready to go now. So, you know, there's not as many bodies around in Maple Leafs training camp right now. So it makes sense that they're setting those guys down, and whoever's left, go out to Muskoka, go be a team, you know, go create some chemistry, which is good because there's a lot of new faces, you know, and with Mitch Marner gone, we brought up the Mitch Marner.
He who shall not be named.
Shall not be named, apparently. But with him gone, you know, it opens up a space for someone else to talk, because we know that guy was very vocal, and you know, now you have some other faces who can come in and, you know, maybe be a bit more vocal and be a bit more of a leader, and a good trip like this maybe could establish that for someone, whether it's a new guy coming in or maybe it's someone who's been around for a couple of years, but, you know, now feels more comfortable, like a Matthew Nyes type of deal.
Yeah, I mean, they get to kind of go at it in a different way, right? Maybe, you know, especially a guy like Matthew Nyes who wants to assert himself as, you know, a top dog on this team. These sort of little trips, you get a chance to kind of, you know, explore that side of you, right? Are you more of now? Are you a leader or a follower?
Yeah. It's one way to put it. Auston Matthews is the leader of the group. He's got the C, and I'm sure he'll have some responsibilities of some, you know, team activities that they'll have to do up north to try and get some bonding in. The slander continues for this guy, though. You know, like over the summer, we had picked up a couple of comments from some outlets all around the hockey sphere, I guess. But the NHL Network, I recall Mike Rupp coming out and saying that, you know, he would rank, you know, Jack Hughes over Auston Matthews. I think the NHL Network had him ranked as the number 7 center, not player, center in the National Hockey League. And now they've put out their top 50 list. And Dave, you have a bone to pick with the NHL Network based on where Auston Matthews landed.
Yeah, because like I saw that they put out their top 20 to 11. And I said,
Mhm.
okay, this would be interesting to see because in the TSN top 20 to 11, Boone Nylander and Mitch Marner were on that list. I said, okay, maybe we'll take a look and see where they rank. By the way, Marner was just ahead at 18 and Nylander was at 19. But then I saw a photo of Auston Matthews of the article, and I'm like, I'm sorry, come again?
Yeah.
They ranked Auston Matthews 15th.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I'm not that surprised though. Like, if you listen to the rhetoric that was coming out from that outlet specifically, the NHL Network and the people there. Like, again, they had him ranked as the number 7 center. Now you add in goalies and defensemen and wingers. Kind of makes sense that he falls out of the top 10 and ends up as the 15th best player. Who are the guys who they had ranked ahead of him though that kind of make you raise an eyebrow? Because to me, like, I understand, or I wouldn't. I'm not shocked that the NHL Network did this and ranked him here, but it's absurd. Like, he is 100% a top 10 player in the NHL. Like, 100%. Auston Matthews is still a top 10 guy in the NHL. He had 69 goals 2 years ago. It's like people forget that he was a near 70 goal scorer 2 seasons ago. Like, he had an injury-riddled 2024-25, so he didn't back it up with a strong season. But that year he had last season was more of an anomaly than the 60-plus goal seasons that he's had in 2 of the last 3 years. So, like, I really, really can't fathom ranking this guy outside of your top 14, putting him at number 15. It's just an absolutely blasphemous ranking.
Yeah, they had Jack Eichel at 14, Mikko Rantanen at 13, Kirill Kaprizov at 12. Kirill Kaprizov not even in the top 10 of this list either.
Wow.
And David Pastrnak at 11.
Okay. Interesting. I'll be curious to see who kind of jumps up into, because there's a few guys. We're gonna do our top 10 in just a moment, and we had to put together a list for the Locked On Network. I think that it was a top 100 list, and I believe it's going to be unveiled next week. But we both have our top 10. We're going to unveil our personal top 10 coming up next, but the network's top 100 list will be out next week. 3 of those guys that you just mentioned are in my top 10. So, like, I'll be curious to see who the hell they had in their top 10 where they couldn't squeeze in those 3 players. And Auston Matthews are the 3 guys you mentioned that aren't on their top 10 that are on mine. He leads the pack. Like, I've got Matthews at 6. Like, that's where I have Auston Matthews ranked still as the 6th best player in the world, 6th best player in the NHL. Having him at outside of the top 10 is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Like, I'm here to listen to, finding a space between 6 and 10 or whatever. Like, it's you're flipping coins almost at that point. But to have him outside the top 10, that's almost, you're just looking for clickbait. That's a garbage rank.
Like, over an 82 game season last year, if you took his scoring rate with the injury and not being out of his top, he still would have had about 40 goals and 95 points.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's pretty good. Like, for in a down year for Auston Matthews.
Need I remind everyone that since coming into the NHL, Auston Matthews in 629 games has scored 401 goals. That's 23 more goals than the next player since coming into the league. Leon Draisaitl, who's got 378. Ovi right behind him at 372. And then Pasta at 366. No one else is within 50 goals of Auston Matthews. Just those 3 players are within 50. Everyone else is a distant second to Matthews and the rest of those guys. So he is the best goal scorer in the league. And last I checked, and this is a quote that I'll always credit Sheldon Keefe for. The point of the game, last I checked, was to score more goals than the other team. And that guy scores goals at a better rate than anyone else on the ice in the entire NHL. How is he possibly being slandered to the point where he's fallen out of the top 10 and being ranked here at 15? And I do wonder if it has something to do with the fact that the injuries play into a little bit of a part, but also how much they're considering the loss of Marner, and maybe that'll spark some sort of decline. Like if Marner's not there to create space and get him the puck, is he still going to put up the goals? We've gone through the data. We've gone through all the numbers. Like, he's just as prolific as a goal scorer when he's not playing with Mitch Marner as when he is. Like, the data supports that he can still drive and score goals even without Mitch on the ice. So I can't quite understand what they're doing here. 15 is an absolutely outrageous number to place him at. I already kind of spoiled where I have Auston at number 6 in my top 10 list. But who else is in our top 10? Where does Dave have Auston Matthews ranked in his top 10? We'll get to that list next here in the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NHL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5. If it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love how FanDuel gives me so many ways to play. You can build a parlay, try some player props, even do some live in-game betting, some futures. I love it. It makes watching hockey even more exciting when you got a little bit of action riding on the game. Whether you're a casual fan or you love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. Mike DiStefano, Dave Morassutti with you as we are each and every weekday, Monday through Friday. You can find the Locked On Leafs podcast wherever you find your podcast and get your daily dose of Maple Leafs content directly to you. Make sure you're subscribed to the Locked On Leafs podcast. The latest in Leafland, we were taking a look, and you had noticed that the NHL Network had an Auston Matthews ranked as the 15th best player in the NHL, an egregious ranking by both of us. And we had to do our own top 100 for the Locked On Network. And I figured, let's just go through our top 10 and see where he lands. I already spoiled mine. He's at 6 for me. But I'm curious to see where he lands for you. So we'll start, give me your top 10 and we can talk a little bit about it. And then eventually you'll get to Matthews. But I'm curious to hear who your top 10 is, Dave.
Yeah, so I got Connor McDavid number 1. Shocker.
No, yeah, same.
I put Nathan MacKinnon at number 2.
Okay. I got Leon at number 2. And then McKinnon at 3.
Leon's at 3 for me.
Yeah. It's a no doubt that those are the top 3 players in the NHL.
That's
the no doubt list.
Yeah. Though to me, you can make an argument between who goes 2 and who goes 3, as you and I just did right there. Otherwise, I think everyone's pretty unanimous that that's the top 3.
Yeah, I would agree. Who comes in at number 4 for you?
I got Cale Makar.
I do as well. I as well have Cale Makar coming in at number 4. But I think there's the top 3 there. It's like Connor, and then you got Leon and McKinnon as like their own little tier right behind Connor. Yep. And then there's another tier of Makar. Is there a tier below for you, or is he like cemented at number 4? Like, did you consider someone else there?
I didn't. I just think that he, like, when you're looking at like players that are like game changers, right? Cale Makar is the game changer.
Yeah.
And some people might even say he deserves to be up higher because he plays a tougher position. He's got that two-way ability, elite production. But I just think that like McKinnon and Draisaitl are always in the Hart conversation. Like Makar has as well, but not many people are putting his name above McKinnon and Draisaitl in those conversations, and that's why I have him at 4.
Yeah, I'm with you. I agree. I think it's like Connor, Leon McKinnon, Makar, and then there's a drop off, and there's like a 5-person batch I could really put in that next tier where you can kind of put guys in in
Yeah.
any way, shape, or form that would make some sense. So I'm curious to see who you had coming at number 5.
I got Nikita Kucherov. That guy, at times, I question whether he wants to play hockey, but then he just goes and he scores points like no other player. He really could. You could easily have said that if he put in probably more of an effort, probably could be in a higher tier because he had 121 points this past year. He had 144 the year before that. I think he's one of the more dangerous offensive players in terms of ability to put up points, but I just don't think he does the other things that Draisaitl and McKinnon do that really drive it. So I think, considering where he sits every year, the scoring, he has to be up there a bit higher.
Yeah, he's got just as much skill in the world, I think, as those players, especially in the offensive end. Like, this is a guy with 100 assists a couple of years ago. When Connor did it, Kucherov did it also, right? So, Nikita Kucherov is immensely skilled. A little too much to be desired, though, off the puck. I think that's why he doesn't crack into that top echelon of the McDavids, the Draisaitl's, and the McKinnons. It's the consistency and the fact that he's just a little less committed to his off puck play. But I also had him at number 5. That's where I had Nikita Kucherov. So we've got the same top 5, Dave. There was the swap with Leon and McKinnon, but we do have the same top 5. Now I had Matthews come in at 6. Where'd you?
That's exactly where I have him.
All right, explain yourself.
I mean, he could easily be much higher, but there's a couple things. Being able to stay healthy is one. He can score goals, right? Like nobody else in this league.
I'm curious. Where did the NHL Network have him in 2024?
Probably.
I'm gonna look it up. You
probably would have had like to me. Look, when he can get to 100 points like he did, and he's done that a couple times. When he gets 50 plus goals, he will put himself higher up in the conversation because he also has that defensive ability as well. I just find that, with the injury last year and, production just wasn't really there. Now you wonder, can that production be sustained? I understand that, but we've all seen the preseason. He still has that shot. He still has those scoring instincts. And I still think he has the two-way ability that players of his caliber don't necessarily put that much of an emphasis on. He's not the fastest player. I get that. He's not the most dynamic skater, but he is just a workhorse. And he can be, I always say there's another gear to Auston Matthews. At times, I wish we could see him more often.
Right.
And that's kind of where McKinnon, Draisaitl, they have that kind of that gear sometimes that I wish Matthews could, and we've seen him do it. We have seen him do it. We haven't seen as much of it lately.
And those guys have done it in the playoffs, right?
Bingo.
That's the other difference between Matthews and those other guys. Like, when he's on, he could be just as talented a 200-foot player as Nathan McKinnon. Like, he really, really can be. I just found it, by the way. Last year, he was number 3. So he went from being the 3rd best player in the league all the way down to 15 by the NHL Network based off of last season. So quite the steep drop off. I think he's more likely. I think it's probably better that he drops from 3 to 6 as opposed to 3 to 15. I don't think he's dropping way outside the top 10 when you know that all season long he was dealing with that injury that really precluded him from playing at his best for like 98% of the season. So just an outrageous ranking. But we both got him at number 6. Really quickly, I'll just run through the rest here because we just want to get to Matthews pretty much. But I've got Quinn Hughes, Kirill Kaprizov, Alex Barkov, which, well, he's hurt now, so I guess he won't be, a top 100 player this year. And then I put Connor Hellebuyck at number 10 just as the goalie, because he's been unbelievable the last couple of years. So I had Hellebuyck at 10 to get a goalie in there.
Yeah, I had Kaprizov at 7, just past Matthews, and I had Pasternak. I still think even though Boston stinks, he doesn't. He's good, and I still think he's going to be an elite contributor for that team. And it's probably going to be the reason why they don't stink as much, because he will probably help them win more games than they want to win right now.
What did he do last year when they got after the trade deadline? I'm gonna look into that. He still had 106 points last year, and that team was awful, and he still put up over 100 points. So
I can produce, man. You gotta recognize that for sure.
Oh yeah. All right, so you got Pasternak coming in at number 8. You said
Kaprizov. Yeah. Then I have 9. Yeah, Kaprizov at 7. I have Quinn Hughes at 9. I think he's continually put himself in that conversation among Norris candidates every year. Such a difference maker for Vancouver.
Yeah.
It'll be sad when that is no longer going to happen, when he goes to play with his brother in New Jersey.
No, Jack's going to Vancouver.
Oh, okay. Luke as well, right? They're going to be a package deal.
Oh, they can't come up with a contract for Luke. So
yeah, that's the problem. He's trying to tell Jack, I'm not signing. We're going to Vancouver. But
the Canucks were smart. They would have offer sheeted Luke and got him there. So you got Quinn and Luke, and then all of a sudden we're just waiting on you, Jack. You're a free agent next year. Welcome.
It's not totally out of the realm of possibilities.
Quinn's a free agent. Jack, I think, still has a couple more years. But anyways,
it's gonna be interesting. And rounding that out, I have Connor Hellebuyck as well. He's the best goalie. Mm-hmm. Yeah, playoffs haven't exactly been too kind to him, but they're out of all the goalies that we can call workhorse, Connor Hellebuyck is that guy.
Yeah, for sure. For sure he is. He's been the best goalie in the league for 2 years now. Deserves to be there. It's a very tough decision or tough position to play, and he plays it at the highest level and plays it elite and a lot, 60 plus games year in, year out. Not a lot of guys do that anymore. So give him some honors of being the top 10. So we pretty much have a very similar top 10. We have the same top 6. We have the same 8, technically, same 8 players. I just had Hughes and Kaprizov just flip-flopped. And then I had Hellebuyck, and who's the last guy you had there?
Hellebuyck was my last one. I had Hughes, Pasternak.
Oh, Pasternak. Okay, yeah. So you have Pasta in there, and I have Barkov. So that's literally the only difference in our top 10 is you had Pasta, I had Barkov. Outside of that, we had the same top 10, you and I. So we're thinking along the same lines, and Pasta is probably at 11 for me. I think Pasta came right behind Hellebuyck for me. I think I snuck Helly in there just because he's a goalie. But Pasta, you could easily toss him in there at 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. He's in that mix of guys that could crack the top 10 depending on what time of day you're asking me, realistically. But yeah, there's our top 10. So we both have Matthews at 6 as the 6th best player in the league. That's far better than the 15th that the NHL Network had him ranked at. All right, on the other side, Dave, a little pressure list, I suppose. There's a couple guys who are facing some pressure coming up into the final week of the season. I want to ask you, who has more pressure on them to perform this week? That's coming up next here in the Locked On Leafs podcast. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. Mike DiStefano, Dave Morassutti with you as always. Just a reminder that you can subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast wherever you find a podcast. And also, if you're on Apple and you want to leave a review, rating and a review, that'd be greatly appreciated. That always helps the algorithms. And if you're on YouTube, let us know down below your thoughts. Where do you have Auston Matthews ranked in the NHL? Let us know maybe your top 10 list down below. So I want to debut a new segment here, Dave. It's called the Tuesday Triple Play. It's essentially a 3-tier power ranking, essentially, but I'm a big alliteration guy, so calling it the Tuesday Triple Play, I think is kind of fun. I'm looking at 3 Maple Leafs facing the most pressure heading into the final week of camp. So I'll tell you the 3 players, and then I want you to tell me kind of who you would have at 1, 2, because it's almost a 1A, 1B situation at 1 and 2. And then the third one, a little bit of a distant, but still think there's some pressure on him. So coming in at number 3, I actually have Max Domi with a little bit of pressure going into the final week. And it's because he missed the first week, and Matias Maccelli had a chance to play up on that top line. They had some success as well. It looked pretty good. And, Max Domi has yet to get a chance to go out and play. And he's going to eventually this week. He'll play one of the 2 games against the Detroit Red Wings. But it has to work, I think, for Domi on the top line, because I don't really see a good fit elsewhere, realistically. So if it doesn't work up with Matthews and Nyes on the top line, it's hard for me to find a spot for Domi in this lineup. So for that reason, I think he's got to prove that he can refine that magic that he and Matthews had a couple years ago when they were paired together for 10, 11 games or so. So for that reason, I had Domi at number 3.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. They basically said, here's the ball, run with it.
Yeah.
Like
what an opportunity too, to sit shotgun to Nyes and Matthews.
Like, what was the discourse all offseason about? Or even just like after the playoffs and offseason? Do the Leafs really need Max Domi? Like, is Max Domi like that contract and his production? And the front office is like, well, what you guys don't know is we're gonna try him on the top line, so we do need Max Domi a little bit more. And
yeah,
they're and they've you hear about he played with Matthews before. There's there's a feeling between the two of them. They really are gonna have to that hunch better pay off, because yeah, you're right. They're like looking at options. There isn't another option really. That's, I know some people are gonna say, about Maccelli and Matias Maccelli. I can see why. That's
no, don't get me wrong. I think it's like, I think the Leafs have other options. I think
they have the options.
There's more pressure for Domi to make it work than there is in the front office to make Domi work. Because I think that they have other options if it doesn't work out for Domi. Whereas if he's not on the top line, I don't like him in the bottom 6. Like, the way that I believe they want to deploy the bottom 6 as defensively responsible, a lot of defensive zone starts and assignments. You don't want Max Domi there, so he's got to be in the top 6. So he's not in the top line, right? It's like, okay, well, I guess you're gonna put him on the second line, I suppose. But if you like what you've seen from Bobby McMahon on the second line and what him and Tavares and Nylander have been able to do, it's like, you want to move off of that? I don't know, maybe not, right? So it's now all of a sudden it's like, man, where can we fit him into the lineup? He's going to play, like, he's making too much money to keep in the press box, but like you want it to work on the top line more than anything else.
Well, and I think the big one here, people think, well, what's the real reason why there's this question about Domi? Sometimes it's offensively, like, they want him to shoot more. That's the big one that Craig Berube talked about. We need Max to shoot it more. And 2, defensive play. Because yes, while he is going to be playing on a more offensively driven line, he also is going to be they might deploy that line situation where they're in the defensive zone. And he has to show that he can handle those responsibilities. Mm-hmm. And to me, when I've seen Max Domi play, I don't think it's necessarily his ability to play defense. It's the commitment to playing defense. It's the mindset that I got to be defensively responsible. And I think that's where, that's probably where the Leafs. are like, if you just did a few of those things that your former London Knights teammate did,
Ha,
see how he did that one there? You
yeah.
can, there would be no question. This wouldn't be a pencil mark for you on the top line. This would be a little more, a little more set in stone for you. But unfortunately, he has not shown that ability consistently enough to earn like outright he is going to be the guy.
Yeah, totally agree. The two other players that I think are facing the most pressure heading into the final week, Nick Robertson and Easton Cowan. Of those two guys, Dave, who do you is facing more pressure, Cowan or Robertson?
I think it's Robertson.
Yeah, I had him at number one. I do have him at number one. And it's because it's similar to Domi, where it's like, man, like there's just not a lot of spots. And I think it was Brad Treliving who said this on the first day of camp. He's like, we got more bodies than we do seats on the team right now, on the team bus. So someone's not going to be with this team who has NHL experience, who's been an NHLer, that is an NHLer, I would say. And Nick Robertson's kind of the guy who's teetering on that cut line, right? On that cut list, on the waiver wire type of list.
Like that's why Nick Robertson has more pressure, because he could be losing out on a spot to a rookie.
Yeah.
Right. And we've heard Craig Berube say he's had a good camp. Just like last year, he had a good camp.
A great camp last year. Remember, we were like, we were calling
preseason MVP.
Yeah, literally. I'm pretty sure we named him preseason MVP, and it didn't amount to a whole lot. Like he still wasn't able to prove himself as a day in, day out NHLer, and I don't like his chances with what the team did over the offseason. They got deeper, right? They gave him more competition than he's had over the years. So if he can beat out what he's, gone up against the last couple seasons, he's really not going to beat out who he's playing now. Like it's a tougher path to get into the lineup for him, especially on opening night, to make this roster. So for me, I look at Nick Robertson. I think he's the guy where there's just so much pressure on him to go out and have a good final week of camp and prove, hey man, I can do this. You may not think that I can get this done, but watch, let me show you a little something. So I think there's a lot of pressure on him, but at the same time, still think that there's pressure on Easton Cowan.
He's got to solidify. He has to go out and win that spot.
Well, I think right now as of now, would you say that Cowan has won the spot as the fourth line right wing? I think he has.
I think he has.
So I think there's pressure for him if he wants to be in the NHL, and I would hope that's the goal for him. He's got to finish the job, right? He's got to finish camp strong. Can't take the foot off the pedal. So there's going to continue to be eyes on him. I think Berube is just waiting for those junior habits to set back in. And if it does, like there's not a lot of leeway for a kid like Easton Cowan, like there would be a veteran. So very small margin of error for Easton Cowan if he wants to make the team out of camp. So for that reason, I think there's a lot of pressure on him too.
Well, and here's the thing: like I look at Robertson and Cowan as kind of in the same. I think they're battling each other right now. I think that's. And here's the thing: I tell people. People say, "Oh, why is Nick Robertson not getting more recognition, or why is he not being thrown into like making the team?" What has Nick Robertson done to elevate or take his game to a different level? Has he gone better defensively? No. Because you saw in that last preseason game, he allowed a guy to go right to the net unchallenged. I can't remember who it was that scored the goal for the Habs, but it's just like I saw that play and I'm like, that is why he's not an everyday NHLer, right? And another one was, but he gives a good effort. You can be skating your, hard and trying your best, but when it doesn't really lead to a lot, sometimes players are putting up the effort, but then it's not really amounting to much. And I think that's Nick Robertson is guilty of that. Like he's pushing and pushing and pushing, but there's really not much happening out of it. So that's why, like I see Easton Cowan, it's a simpler game. He is looking at those defensive responsibilities. he's improved himself in that he's gotten stronger, right? We talked a lot about adding the that's a player who, yes, he is younger, so there's a little more room for him to grow. But he is understanding that if I wanted to make this team, I had to make a serious commitment to doing things that this team wanted me to do to make the team, and he's done it.
The details of the game. That's what he was sent back to junior to work on, the details of the game, and it seems like he worked on those. And Craig Berube has been glowing about Easton Cowan, and talking to some reporters, it's like, yeah, unprompted, this guy's bringing up Easton Cowan and how surprised he's been of the turnaround from last year to this year and how much better of a player he's become. Really took what Chief said to heart and worked on those things. And he's been rewarded with opportunity, and so far he's run with it. But as Kobe Bryant once said, job not finish, right? Job not finish. He's got to finish camp strong if he wants to crack the opening night roster with the Maple Leafs and make his NHL debut against the Montreal Canadiens on October 8th. All right, that'll do it for us here today on the podcast. I'd like to thank you all for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast on all podcast platforms and receive daily Leafs content. Follow myself on Twitter at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at D_Morassutti, and follow the show as well at Locked On Leafs. We'll be back with another episode for you guys tomorrow. Until then, keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.